Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin. Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin.
Oliver, welcome to Filler.
Thank you, Carl. Great to be here.
It's great to have you.
Dude, this is exciting. It really is exciting. It feels like, I don't know about you, but the last few months have just gone by in a blink of an eye. I mean, I blinked and it's just nearly January.
I know, right? It's really special right now. Really special. And I can't put my finger on like how it got to be special. But yeah, you're right. I would say within the past couple months, you can kind of feel this kind of like fever coming over. And then today it's like 87, 80, what is it, 88K?
Where are we right now? 86,550. Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me. And just seeing the time fly since when I first met you earlier in the year, actually, I think, right? Like
yeah.
January.
Where did I meet you? Did I meet you? Because I want to say that I met you through Darren, right?
You did. Yeah. I remember being in the Commons and Darren was like, you need to come over and meet this guy called Carr and he runs Pleb Lab. And I think you were busy or something. So you may have just like shaken my hand and not even taken notice.
I do that very often.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few weeks and he goes to me, hey, you should come check out Top Builder.
Oh.
And I did. I came in the building and I was like, this place is awesome. Something magical about Pleb Lab, you know?
Yeah. Dude, it was incredible. Yeah. When I first met you, I remember Darren saying something about you and I was like, yeah, let me go meet this guy. And I went to go meet you. And yeah, I usually forget the person as soon as I meet them these days because there's so many people. And then he mentioned you again like 2 weeks later. And he was like, yeah, there's this guy, he's building this game. And I was like, really? I was like, who is this guy? He's like, you met him before. I was like, I have. I was like, dude, bring him to the lab. And I think that was when he brought you into the lab. And then, yeah, once I got to learn a little bit more about you and Keon did as well too. I think we were all like, okay, this guy's like really special. I don't know if anybody's actually taken a look at his project or like what he's trying to work on, but
yeah, it's too kind. The funny thing is when I first joined the lab, you know, and you were sort of talking up Top Builder, I was on the fence.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure about doing it.
Yeah.
Just because I was working for Swan Bitcoin at the time as a mobile engineer and like my days were pretty long. I was pretty busy and I was still doing Jippy outside of that, but I couldn't really envision doing a 3-month sprint and building this thing, you know, in 3 months. And so it was quite a lot of pressure, but I was just like, screw it. What have I got to lose? You know?
Yeah.
I might
think,
as well.
Yeah. I think we're doing another Top Builder, which we're announcing tomorrow. But I think it works that way because it kind of gets rid of the people that are serious or not. And like, look at you now, like I would say you're a seasoned startup founder at this point. I mean, you have a lot of experience, man. I mean, don't sell yourself short. But yeah, let's go into that experience a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about early young Oliver when he was coming up and he was learning his, cause dude, you're extremely talented on the design side. I don't think people give you enough credit on that, but some of the things that you're able to transform on a digital device is pretty like, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and like where you kind of clued into design and why you see the world a little bit differently than others when it comes to that type of stuff?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really nice comment. I was definitely a weird one in school, I want to say. You know, I was very anti-establishment in general and the teachers hated me because I would always push back on authority. So there was this little spike of libertarianism combined with a passion for the visuals. And that came from, funnily enough, Steve Jobs. So when everyone talks about their heroes and, you know, they tend to go for sports people or folks like that. I was not sporty. I was in the IT lab almost all the time watching Apple presentations and keynotes and demo videos, you know. And that was my inspiration, I think, is because he was so good at purity of intent. So saying no to all of the bullshit and just going, how can I make this thing beautiful, user-friendly, with all of this personality still intact, you know? And it's like this really strange place to be in the middle of that triangle. And that's what I've tried to emulate, you know, with everything I do, be it a presentation or the app design of GP or the website design or stuff I do for any of the companies here in the lab. You know, it's just, that's where the magic lies, I think.
So it's just saying no repeatedly.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little about that process and what would be an example of that?
Yeah. So I think saying no is like the umbrella term, just saying no. But I think if you want to delve down into like the strategy I would take. So it's actually like the 5 whys is what I tend to do. So if you start off with like a headline question of why is this thing? Why is it like this? So I'll give you an example. Like with Jippy, for example, why is the user growth not exponential? So that's the headline phrase.
Right.
And then from there, you ask another question, which is why are we not targeting a certain group of people, for example? And then you could ask another question, why are we not? So it's just sort of you delve down into the layers until you get to the genesis question, which is like the most foundational question. And you can apply that to anything. It could be this strategy of Jippy. It could be like a design question or whatever. And once you put enough time into figuring out what that genesis question is, that's where the value lies, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about about your fascination with Apple. I'm a big Steve Jobs fan as well, too.
Yeah, you are?
Yeah, totally.
I got so giddy when there was like an Apple presentation. It would be more than Christmas for me. I'd stay up and watch them.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your favorite product they ever released, and which one like actually like really inspired you?
Oh, that's such a tough question. I think for the category of product, for me, it was going to be the Mac. Because of the design. I mean, it was unmatched, you know, like the first Macintosh, this beige box was a little bit like, okay, it's simple, but there's no personality really. And they evolved that over time. Like the first iMac, do you remember that Bondi Blue iMac with the round back? Yeah. And how they put so much emphasis into the translucency and making sure that the circuit board was perfect, because you would obviously see through the case at the circuit board. And from there, that's the next generation. I think it was the i3, which was like the sunflower it was tilting and you could move the screen up and down, left and right.
Oh, interesting.
It looked like the Luxo lamp in Pixar's logo, which would jump up and down. So, and then they moved from that to something else. So just seeing like the evolution over time of this amazing product that would be an art piece that people would want to show off in their own space, you know?
That is true.
Yeah. What about you?
I think the iPod for me.
The first one, the white one.
Yeah, because I remember being a kid at the time and seeing that and thinking like, oh, whoa, like what is this? And it was so expensive. I think it was like $600 or $700.
Something like that, yeah.
It was ridiculously expensive.
1,000 songs in your pocket.
Yeah, but I remember that being the one that really stuck out with me because of like the possibilities that came after of the iPod. It was not only podcasts came out after that, but it was all this music that went digital all of a sudden, even before then too, but right afterwards, it really got mainstream. And then the iPhone evolved from that. And I think for me, when I look back and I think of like my favorite products of all time it's definitely the iPod. I still have one that I listen to every once in a while on a plane whenever I can't use Wi-Fi or things. But I think the iPod is the one for me.
Yeah, it's a nice choice actually, because it did revolutionize the music industry. I mean, it did.
Totally,
This guy came in and just commanded rooms and saying, I don't give a shit about your business model. I'm, the iPod and iTunes is the king. Yeah. And he did. He transformed everything for what was it, 99 cents a song?
Yeah, 99 cents a song.
So I don't know. I think I wouldn't have liked to work for the guy. I'll say that.
Why?
Well, because he was a maniacal like sociopath, and I guess most founders at that level are. His vision was unparalleled. I mean, he genuinely is a hero to me, but he commanded such perfectionism rather like Musk does, I guess, in his workforce, that it becomes that level of perfectionism is unobtainable for most people unless you literally destroy yourself. Like you work from like, I don't know, 7 a.m. to midnight, whatever, every single day for like 365 days a year.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's wild, but it's a good bar to, I think, to have set for founders. I think when most founders think about, like a garage, starting off in the garage, or like a hacker startup of a sort, they always think like early Apple, right? No one thinks like early Microsoft. Everybody's like, oh, early Apple.
Yeah. I wish we had garages in the UK because there's such a special culture about starting a business in a garage, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, we don't have that same culture.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Did you go to school in the UK, and like what type of school did you go to? What classes really interest you growing up?
I did. I went to school in the UK. I was sort of interested in business, and I was interested in design and a mixture of other things like philosophy and psychology and just broad areas. But I left school pretty early, actually. So I never went to university. And I went to work for Apple, funnily enough, as my first job.
Really?
Yeah, I was in the retail stores
for
a year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What did you learn working there?
Just how to be personable, you know, how to, even if you feel like you want to burn the building down when the bad customer is berating you, still smile and just like, my job here is to sell you, you know. So there's a skill set there, I think, with talking to people. But it was only for a year, and I realized quickly early on that the place to be in the UK for startup and technology in general is London. So I was in Oxford, actually, at the time, which is like 2 hours from London. And then I moved to London to learn to code and actually learn the skills myself to be a software engineer. So that, I think that digital skill in the 21st century is just so important. Even if you're just a designer, or if you're just a product person, or just X, Y, and Z, you're never really just one thing, because those types of skills are so universal. It can help you in all the areas of your career, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Learning to code.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a set of tools or something that you found particularly useful at that time to kind of level up faster?
Yeah, I worked for a company called Makers Academy in London, and they were a coding boot camp. And there's so many here in America as well. But they were all of the ones here were built upon the business model of Makers, basically. They were the first in Europe, and they were the largest. And I worked for them for 3 years doing their admission stuff. And to be able to go through a set curriculum, understanding how to problem solve as the most fundamental level, whilst throwing in different topics about, I don't know, JavaScript or Ruby or design, whatever, to do that in 12 weeks is hard. I mean, they called it, their slogan was like, the Ivy League meets the Marines.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done so far in my life.
And you worked in the admissions office?
I did for 3 years.
Dude, what a great like purview must have had, just like looking at everything.
Right, exactly. And I was, and I love the company. Don't get me wrong, it was amazing. But at the end of those 3 years, I was going, what am I doing here? Because I'm seeing all of these amazing people go on to get their dream jobs at some of the best companies in the world as a software engineer, and I'm here just coaching them through their first few steps, which is fine. I mean, it was rewarding, but. Yeah. Thank God I did that, because I'm here today having built Jippy, you know? So it's like, it all comes full circle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah, you must have seen like what works, what doesn't work, why this worked or didn't work, and those type of things. Yeah. What was the launching pad to getting to the States and trying to make a go of it?
So I was actually born here. So I'm dual citizen, which is quite nice. So I was born in Fort Worth, but I grew up in the UK, and I've got family both sides of the Atlantic. And so for me, this will probably, I guess, lead into the Bitcoin discussion. But for me, 2020 was a shit show. I mean, it was one of the most challenging years I think I've ever experienced. And that probably is universal to everyone. It sucked. But to be in London specifically, where they would not allow you to be in a room more than 6 people. And if you went to another person's house, they would come raid your house and arrest you.
Really, Oliver?
Yes.
It was that bad
It was that bad in London. Yeah.
And these are the police. The police would come.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would stop you if you were sitting on a park bench and you didn't have a hot beverage and you weren't sipping a drink. So you could only sit down on a park bench if you had a drink in your hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's like fascist.
Did people fall in line with all that?
Yes, and that was the scary thing. It was terrifying, and you had friends ratting each other out. You know?
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Did you experience some of this in your circle, or did
no? Because I like put two fingers up to the establishment. I was like, I'm having parties, dude. You're trying to stop me. Come arrest me.
Yeah.
So I was having a good time, but we all did our part to some degree for a period of time. You know, when it first hit in London for the first 2-3 weeks, people would, for the first time, genuinely a little bit frightened because we didn't know what this thing was. And then Bojo, so Boris Johnson, our prime minister, was like, "Oh, it's fine. You know, we'll shut everything down for 2 weeks, and then we'll all come back to work." 2 years later.
Golly, dude.
Yeah, it was horrendous. So anyway, to answer your question, at that point, you know, this is sort of 2021. After months of being shut inside my own house.
Were you working still at the time?
Yeah, I was.
Everything was just remote?
Yeah, it was. I was working as a software engineer. But at that time, I was like, this is not a life that I want to be living. So I'm either going to be moving to Florida or Texas. So where the guns are.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you had family in Fort Worth, you said, right?
I did.
So what was it like? How did you escape London? Were you able to leave? And
yeah, I got really lucky actually, because I didn't take the shot, you know, and I'm happy. I stand by that statement. But the only reason why I was able to come in the country in America at that time is because I was a citizen. So if I was not a citizen, anyone from the UK, well, actually anyone globally who wasn't a citizen could not come back in the country to America. Wow. So you had to show proof of vaccination. So I got really lucky.
Yeah. And what was it like landing in Fort Worth? Is that where you landed first, or?
I did, Fort Worth. Yeah, it was fine, to be honest. I think they were still contact tracing at that time, or at least, you know, you had to give details and you had to say you're going to be in your house for whatever that time frame was, 14 days, something like that. But no one checked. I mean, no one checked. Americans were a little bit more lax than the UK.
Were you able to still work and become a software engineer and do all those things? Like,
yes, actually.
How did you land into the Bitcoin space?
Yeah, so my first job here was actually at a shitcoin company, unfortunately.
Oh, really? So, which one was it?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Wow, it must have been a really bad shitcoin company.
Well, I just think that it definitely put a sour taste in my mouth, you know.
Oh, wow.
I was one of 2 maxis on the team. So I would be with this guy and we would talk shit the whole time about these crap coins versus Bitcoin. Yeah. And no one really listened to us.
Really?
So
did they hear you guys?
I mean, they tried not to hear us.
Oh, okay.
Because this whole thing was for them to try and replicate this sustainable blockchain technology using proof of stake to try and make it as secure as proof of work, you know, and it was just such a terrible time.
Wow. Okay.
But at that point, you know, like 2020 hit, I researched Bitcoin. I sort of started to understand what that actually meant for humanity, is this freedom tool, financial freedom tool. Then I moved to America. I got this job at a shitcoin company, and fast forward from there, I then got a job at Swan. So really this path into Bitcoin has accelerated quite drastically for me. I haven't been in the space for as long as I would like, you know. I broke in only in 2020. So my stack is still not large as I would want either.
It's 2024. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be 2025 here pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of time.
When did you first get into Bitcoin?
Professionally, it was 2020.
Oh, really?
And then, but actually got into Bitcoin like 2015.
So a little bit earlier than me.
Yeah, because I used to work like IT stuff. So I would be the only guy in the building, one or 2 guys maybe at most, that was just doing like, that was all about Bitcoin. So every time it would run up, people like today, like days like today, people would come up to me, "Oh my God, are you going to quit now?" But like, it'd be those kind of jokes. And then when it would crash, it'd be the opposite. "Oh, did you sell? Are you still like..."
Every time.
And it would happen. And I did that for like 2 cycles. And by the time we got to the 2020 run up, I was like, okay, I'm done. Plus the company I had worked for sold. And so it was a nice little exit. And then I was able to, you know, start this.
Oh, cool. Did you get some shares? Like a little fiat payout?
I don't like talking about that kind of stuff. People start thinking that you have money and stuff.
Which exactly, I know. I'm still waiting on my freaking shares.
What was I going to say? But yeah, let's get back to you. So the Bitcoin stuff. What did you learn? You know, obviously the difference between shitcoin company and like Swan is big, but was there immediate differences that you saw when you started working for Swan?
I think people's time preference changes when you start to understand Bitcoin. So you want a much faster, quicker reward when you're working in the poo-poo coin space, you know, because that's all that the value is. It's just number go up really quickly, number come down. You know, people are trying to make a quick buck at the end of the day, shilling some token. That was on one hand. On the other hand, Swan, the time preference is much, you know, the time horizon is much broader. They want to support Bitcoin generationally and build upon this tool. And so there was just such a love for this technology, such a love for humanity. People came to work with this enthusiasm and joy, something I have never seen before working at a bunch of different companies. This was the first time seeing a coordinated effort to make something larger than ourselves.
Wow.
And it was just such a joy. You know, it didn't end the way I wanted. You know, the layoffs with Swan was not optimal. My heart goes out to all those swans who are hopefully still working in the space today, but I'm sure a bunch of them are working at fiat companies now. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Was there anything at Swan that, like, I guess what department were you working in?
I was working in mobile. So I was working on the mobile app. Yeah. I did a few things, but one of the things is if you open the Swan mobile app on your phone and you have the price chart, if you hold on the 5-year little button in the end for 3 seconds, you'll see the roller coaster guy pop up.
Oh, that was you?
That was me. So yeah, I don't know. I like
awesome.
My passion is for these little tiny moments of joy for UI UX, and so I would do stuff like that for Swan.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you get to? So it sounds like you were very satisfied with working there, and you got.
I was
to do some input. Do they have a big team? Did you work with others?
Yeah, they did, and it grew pretty quickly in the space of like 6 months to a year. And so I don't know. There's a lot that they did right, I think. But I'll be very transparent. One of my bugbears, I think, is trying to coordinate a distributed company across multiple time zones is a nightmare. I would never do it.
Why?
Because it's chaos.
Yeah.
The analogy I would give is probably a sled or a sleigh, and a bunch of the wolves or the dogs are supposedly leading the sleigh, right? And you want every dog to work together to pull the sleigh in the right direction.
Right.
If you have no one at the front cracking the whip, if you have no one with vision trying to coordinate everything, all the dogs are going in a different direction and the sleigh goes nowhere.
Gosh.
That's all I'll say. But I think when GP, hopefully, touch wood, becomes a multi-billion-dollar company one day, we will not be doing distributed time zones. We'll do in person. We'll have an office. People will be able to work remotely to some degree, but you can't be having multiple time zones.
Just because you saw it go entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a handicap that Swan did not need to have, honestly.
Are they back now to just one time zone or a couple time zones?
They have Europe and America, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So they're back to that.
So that's not too bad, right?
No, but they did. I think part of this restructure was to try and get people as close to the same time zone as possible.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I guess it would. I guess I would kind of throw everything in for a loop too, right? Was there a specific thing that you definitely learned and want to take from places like Swan, and bring it into Jippy?
Definitely the love of work. I'm not going to be hiring people that don't own Bitcoin. That's probably like the bare minimum of working in a Bitcoin company is you need to own the asset.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big part of the people that were employed at Swan. Then I would also say, to me, work is definitely a really intrinsic part of being alive. It's important. It's what gives us meaning. But at the end of the day, you need to give people a chance to rest. For me, work-life balance is actually pretty important. That's why I don't think I could ever really work at somewhere like Apple or Tesla, because it just sounds completely insane. And you need that. Like, humanity needs organizations that are completely insane and people that are working like crazy, because it does, I believe, make superior products.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the level of burnout and the level of just degradation, I think that you feel as a person because your life is crumbling around you. Everything except your work life is probably too much to handle for most people. And I would rather be here for the fun. I want to enjoy life. Yeah. I'm here for the lols. I'm here for the memes. But I'm also here to make good stuff. So I think if you can find like this happy medium, that would be optimal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I wonder if do you think Swan has a really good work-life balance? Is that what you're saying, or you're saying that it goes on the other side? Do they give you work-life balance? I mean, it's okay to say. I mean,
No, they did. I think that was that they're good at that. You know, they were the flexible work. You know, you could clock in and clock out when you want to, so long as stuff gets done. That really is core. That's core, I think, now to try and separate corporate America versus Bitcoin companies, you know, because people are here, like I said, they have hopefully a large Bitcoin stack and they're really just here to find meaning. And so they don't really want to work like crazy, I think. They're here for the lols. So they were good about that. I will say sometimes it becomes difficult to honor work-life balance when you have a priority one. So if there's the kind of thing that will come in and destroy the company and you think, holy crap, like we need to solve this now in 2 weeks or we're dead. I think that's when things change.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, I think you need to be very good at organization. You need to be very good at prioritization. If we're having to make sure employees are working on weekends and evenings to fix this priority one, plan it right.
Yeah, it's probably not. There's probably someone not planning correctly, right? Yeah. Yeah, you would see that a lot in IT and stuff where, having the wrong project manager on a specific project could really set a rollout of a network like 2-3 weeks behind. And then that sets back like everybody ordering equipment and then people that we have to send out. And then the people that are paying for the whole project, like they're upset because now it's 2 weeks later. And it's all because the PM didn't CC you on some things. Yeah.
I've been there. It's a cascading effect for sure. And you need people at the top of the funnel just cracking a whip.
Yeah. What was it like? Did you ever work with Cory? Did you ever talk to Cory or have any interaction with Cory or attend any meetings with him? Like, what was it like seeing that guy?
He's a cool guy, actually. He interviewed me. So he's the final interview, at least at that time when they were hiring for Swan, he was the last interview. And it was good fun. And you can tell this guy is energized about Bitcoin. So yeah, I met him digitally. He also does a lot of the all hands as well. So they do like twice a month all hands meetings where he, gives a status update for the company. So you want someone like Cory, I think, being the rocket master, just like orienting this rocket ship that should be going in the right direction. You want someone like that at the helm because then you trust the whole organization is working effectively. The problem I think I have sometimes, and this is not a comment on Swan, but is that the middle managers are the ones that would destroy a company because that's where things are getting a little shaky. Totally. Like I think Steve Jobs has this comment where he was like, I want to hire A-star players.
Yeah.
Because the hope is that A-star players would follow A-star players. Or it will be like A players would hire A-star players, etc. like that. The issue comes being if you hire people below you, if you're an A player that hires a B player, the B player is going to hire the C player is going to hire the D player. And before you know it, you're surrounded by idiots.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It falls all the way down. It's so hard to hire though. It's so hard to hire.
It is.
And it's even harder to keep the good hires.
It really is. I mean, I did 3 years of admissions and there's only so much you can tell within a 45-minute hour interview. It's really just a tiny snapshot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you saw that he did that you want to take forward with what you have, what you're building, or are you looking to carve your own path with Jippy?
I definitely want to carve my own path because I think that there is a certain uniqueness of the different companies I've worked at, and I can take different elements from each. But I do love how he was able to have this vision of what Swan was going to become and distill that down into a message that is easily consumable by the workforce. Because really, that I think is the key value add as a CEO. Yes, you're helping with, operations and making sure everything runs smoothly and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, you're the vision master, like the quest master. And your role is to communicate that vision and quest to the rest of your company. And that should be regularly. I mean, we're talking like weekly,
Right.
you know, and that is the thing I saw from Cory is he was really good about communicating that vision and purpose.
Wow. It's amazing. Let's talk about Jippy. Let's talk about what you're building and, you know, what exactly it is. And for the listeners at home, let's just go into what the name is. Why'd you pick that name? And then from there, let's go into what's the problem that it's trying to solve.
Yeah, it's funny how this stuff happens, honestly, with branding, because I'm not necessarily religious, but I do believe in like a unified field of consciousness. Like there's this truth at the center of the universe. And I do feel like there's this cloud of consciousness that we all plug into to some degree. And so this name, Jippy, literally just fell into my head one day, out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. And I Googled it just out of interest to see if it meant anything. And it meant like actual expense or actual cost. And I go, that's insane, because the actual cost of our debt-based money is inflation. So if Jippy is a solution to that problem through Bitcoin, there's this hidden meaning there with Jippy, you know?
Yeah. And what initially got you started to build it? Or even to think that, hey, maybe there's something here I could probably build?
Yeah. So at the time when I was learning in 2020, there was a lot out there. I mean, we're talking so many different books. I mean, we've all read the Fiat Standard. It's like the Bible for Bitcoin. There's so many podcasts, so many books around, so many YouTube videos, everything, that yes, there is almost this smorgasbord, this buffet of content out there, but it's not really structured through any kind of curriculum, and it's not really very accessible to beginners. And so I sort of pieced together these different, I don't know, themes about learning Bitcoin. And I had a really good boss who orange pilled me and sent me content too. But it was still quite hard and challenging. It took longer than it should, I would say. And so really retrospectively looking at how that could have improved for a beginner, I wished at the time there was like a structured pathway into understanding Bitcoin. I wish that there was a way for me to actually be sent sats and receive Bitcoin and use this thing as money in the real world, and a way to do this collectively with other people, because it was quite isolating for me at the time. And that really is what Jippy is going to become. So we have this slogan, which is Bitcoin education for the masses, because that I believe that is the goal. We want to educate the masses on Bitcoin, you know? And the way we do that is through gamification. And, you know, we can talk about Pokemon Go next, because that I think is really foundational to what Jippy's vision is. But there needs to be a holistic, all-encompassing platform that does all the things I just said for beginners. And that's what we're going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's jump into that. So let's talk about Tribe Clash and this idea that you can compete over a specific territory, which I love. Most Bitcoiners love competing. I love competing. Like, what was the inspiration for that?
Yeah. So just to sort of zoom out and give some context about the numbers. So Bitcoin, we can all agree that Bitcoin needs to reach hyperbitcoinization, right? Which is this point in time where you have mass adoption. So everyone, the mass market has adopted Bitcoin as money. For that to occur, we can probably say that Bitcoin has an education problem to some degree, because we did some research. 69% of young people actually find learning boring, according to Yale News. And that's a pretty big problem when you have a hairy, scary technical beast like Bitcoin, if the younger generation does not even want to learn anything new. Bitcoin education actually is pretty hard. Obviously, I mentioned that it took longer for me than it should have, and I'm a software engineer. So 98% of novices don't understand basic Bitcoin concepts, and that's according to Blockworks. So even if you manage to get the interest of people to try to educate them, the likelihood is they'll drop off at some point because it's too complex. And then the Bitcoin barrier to entry is actually pretty high. So 51% of people say a lack of knowledge is the main barrier to Bitcoin ownership. And that was reported on by Cointelegraph. So really you have this core problem set of how do you make education fun, friendly, and engaging. That's what we want to do with Pokemon Go, with Tribe Clash and Pokemon Go. So this game, it was just insane. I mean, this thing is a global phenomenon, right? Like in 2016, the game peaked at 232 million players. They've grossed over 6 billion in revenue. And even this year, there are still people playing. So as of March, 24% of 18 to 34-year-olds are still playing.
Wow.
And 49% of 35 to 54-year-olds. So this is multi-generational. Just the amount of bodies playing this game is crazy.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're still playing it? Is it the game itself? Is it what do you think that is?
I think it's like you said, the competition aspect is cool. You know, it's being with your friends and actually competing for these, what feel like special limited edition characters, these items, these Pokemon. It's something that you've earned.
Right.
Being able to compete and do that with other people, I believe is like the real truth of why it's fun. And then you can be out and about actually engaging with people in the real world, which is sorely needed today, I think, because we're all online and digital. So the goal with Jippy and Tribe Clash is to emulate some of the things that Pokemon Go did for the Bitcoin space. And so we have this vision of basically running Tribe Clash in every single city around America. And you mentioned the territories. So the goal is to have 21 territories, which are real world geolocation territories around a city. And each week, Jippy would release a new territory for you to claim. The joy of this is that you actually join a tribe of other Bitcoiners. So you join a tribe with friends, and then each week, one of your friends or your whole tribe, if you want to do it together, will go to that territory. And you'll be competing with other tribes to claim a Bitcoin-themed beast. And we have 21 beasts that are unique and they are themed around Bitcoin. So Nakamoto Nick, Blockchain Bob, Sat Sarah, stuff like that.
I love the names. It's great.
And each of them come with their unique design as well as a unique education about Bitcoin. So once you're in that territory with your phone, you'll need to search the territory until you find a beast. Once you find a beast, you'll have to answer a quiz question about Bitcoin the fastest correctly. And if there are other different tribe members in the same territory, you'll enter a tribe clash, which is a quiz battle about Bitcoin. So at the end of this game, which will last about 5 months, the tribe with the most beasts and most territories will then win half a Bitcoin.
Wow.
So big money.
Yeah, big money. So let's roll back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actual like game itself. Like, how do you envision that to look like? I mean, try to describe it as best you can.
Okay.
As far as like what the app will basically do.
Yes. Let's talk about the MVP. So the fundamental one that we want to build now.
Yeah.
And then I can give you an indication as to what we want to build in the future when we have funding, because those are two different things.
Okay.
So right now, what we would do is, in your head, if you picture a Google Maps app on your phone that would have 21 hexagonal territories. And once we release a territory for you to claim, you will go to that territory with your phone. A little bottom sheet or a modal would pop up on your phone and you'd tap a button that says search the territory. At this point, what we'll do is we'll have a compass. And so if you orient the compass, if you walk around the territory with your phone and orient the compass correctly, once you hit that special point in the compass, you'll discover a beast.
And so let's say like we're doing it here in Austin and we're downtown and this is a territory right here.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around with my phone. Would I run into it like across the street, or would it be, I would have to walk a couple blocks to get to it? Like how will it inform me that?
Yeah, good question. So right now we're doing, the territories are about 3 by 3 blocks.
Okay.
Roughly. So it's at this point in time, we want to improve this, but right now it's just crossing that threshold. As soon as you cross the threshold, you can use your phone to orient the phone north, east, south, west.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And once you hit that special point as random on that compass point, you can then tap to claim the beast. That's what we're doing right now. To claim it, you'll then enter in the quiz flow, and where you'll be given a certain number of quiz questions about Bitcoin. Let's say, I don't know, 5 to 10, something like that.
Yeah.
You'll tap and answer those quiz questions. You need to be fast. You need to be correct. If there are other people at the same time at that exact moment in that exact territory with you, then there'll be a knockout. So let's say you answer every single question correctly to the point where it's between you and some other guy. Again, you'll need to be the last man standing. So you have to answer questions the fastest. And then you get to claim that beast at the end.
And so the app will tell you when a new territory is opening up. And
you get a little notification and a card in the map.
Is there a way where they can lose that said territory after a certain time, or have you thought through some of those things?
Yeah, it's hard with all the different layers of game dynamics, honestly, because you do have something like that where you go, what if there's a territory that no one claims? What happens then? What if there's a territory that someone claimed, but they lose it, if you don't continue to be there, for example. So there are lots of different things we're thinking about. I think for the MVP, what we want to do is you claim it once, and then at the end of the game duration, because it's one territory each week, so then there'll be 5 months of gameplay basically across those different weeks. The tribe with the most territories, so the critical mass of territories, would then win. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the MVP. What we want to build, and I don't think I've shared this with you yet, but this is the vision. I think there's going to be different levels to help Tribe Clash scale, because right now it would be city by city. Right. So I think what we would do is we would go by events. Let's do Bitcoin Vegas next year, or BitBlock Boom. We would do events, and we would do a very quick version of Tribe Clash, which would be, let's say, across 2 days. So instead of having a new territory each week, you'd have a new territory each hour.
Oh, wow.
So this is a way we would test the hypothesis of whether or not people would use the game at an event and do it really fast.
And who better to test it than actual Bitcoiners tested it?
Exactly. So that's
cool.
That's the first stage. But what we want to build eventually is, instead of going city by city, the scaling, there's issues with scaling. So what we want to do instead is open that up to whoever and wherever.
Yeah.
So there are 3 phases. Phase 1 is, what if you could nominate your city? So what if you could say, I'm a Bitcoiner in Austin, and I pledge certain Bitcoin, or I stake Bitcoin in this pot of Austin. We could then, let's say, rank the top 10 cities with the most Bitcoin staked and the most people that have said they want to put their city on the leaderboard. So then we have 10 cities. Phase 1 is done. We have 10 cities chosen around America. Ready, set, go. Tribe Clash will run all together, every single city all at once in those 10 cities. And they're all collecting beasts. They're all ready to go. Well, then we'll hit down to, let's say, a top 3.
Yeah.
So there's then 3 cities. And then the final round would be, what if instead of you're collecting 21 beasts in 21 territories, the final round of Tribe Clash and the winner of Tribe Clash would have to find one special beast, maybe even themed by a partnership. A Bitcoin company would sponsor that. One beast in one of those 21 territories. So then one of your tribe members would have to have a tribe member in every single territory, right? So it becomes really fun that way.
Dude, this is cool, man. Yeah, it's really cool. I think it gets really interesting once you start putting it towards events and stuff. Like, I can see people just like saying, yeah, I'm going to go get this territory while I'm here at this event. It's very similar to what like Airbnb did when they first started. Like they couldn't get anything going, and they just started setting up Airbnbs around events too. I don't know. Where did you get the idea for the events thing? It's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it just made sense, honestly. Just thinking being at like Pacific Bitcoin by Swan and just having this amazing event, and you're surrounded by Bitcoiners. Well, why can't we, all get behind a mission and do some kind of challenge together? So that was really the thinking there. And I think it just makes sense at this point, where we have this hypothesis of the app that we want to make. And the next phase is to figure out if there's product market fit. Like, will people use this thing? Well, the most logical step is to go where the people are. And that's going to be at Bitcoin events.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about the revenue model and stuff like that. How do you see this kind of, obviously it's a gigantic market, right? You're talking about billions of dollars.
Potentially billions. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Talk about those things talk about the TAM, the SAM, and everything there.
Yeah, I mean, we can go through, let's do the headline stuff, which is the market right now. So we estimate our market to be worth 99.5 billion, which is a huge number. Yeah. And generally with this TAM, SAM, SOM stuff, it tends to be unreachable, huge, massive numbers to begin with. And then you try and scale it back to something more manageable. So the TAM, which is the headline number. So we work this out by saying the number of US population of non-Bitcoin holders is 214.3 million people. Okay, so have that number in your head, 214.3 million. The number of people that hold Bitcoin right now today, 74% of people hold 0.01 or less of Bitcoin. And at the time of calculating this was around $630 per user. So then we say 74% of 214.3 million is 158 million.
Okay.
So we say 158 million multiplied by 630, that gives us our TAM, and that's 99.5 billion.
Okay.
Sorry, lots of numbers there, I know.
No, you're
but
fine.
it's a big number.
Yep.
So let's go down the SAM. Let's go down one level down. Yep. So that we see as 67.6 billion. And we work that out by saying currently 68% of Americans don't understand how Bitcoin works. So that's folks who need further coaching, further education before they're able to purchase Bitcoin. So this defines our SAM.
Yep.
SAM is therefore 68% of our TAM. And then finally, SOM, which is the smaller number, that's the most achievable for us, is 676 million, and that's 1% of our SAM. So the SOM is 1% of our SAM. So this just is sort of generic numbers that we've researched into what GP would look like at a really massive scale. But the second part of this would be like, how do we make money, right?
Yeah.
Like what's the monetization strategy for GP?
Yeah.
And we alluded to the fact that we would do territories and partnerships, and how would that work? Well, we have 21 territories per game. So we are actually going to work with Bitcoin only companies to sponsor one of the 21 territories. That's $2,000 for a sponsorship. And then we're also exploring ways to possibly charge users to play. So, there's half a Bitcoin on the line. So you kind of want to put your money where your mouth is. So what if we charge users $40 to entry to play the game, for example? Because there's a big ticket money item at the end of this game.
Yeah.
So if we have those numbers where we have $2,000 for 21 territories, $40 entry to play, let's say 2,000 people play the game, that's total revenue of 122,000 per game.
Wow.
Roughly.
And that's per city, right?
Yes, that's per city.
Yeah.
So if we run two games a year, 244,000. If we're running 32 games a year, that's 3.9 million.
Yeah.
So it starts to scale.
Yeah. And then at some point, I would imagine, if I'm playing this game, I'm going to be like, thank you for having this game. And I love going to these blocks and stuff, but hey, I just want to buy Bitcoin. Like, how do you see that kind of playing out? Because that's going to come up in the game. Like, eventually they're going to be like, okay, cool, I'm earning sats here. I need to get this Bitcoin piece, all this kind of stuff. But I want to buy Bitcoin now. Can I buy Bitcoin through Jippy?
100%. And that is the most logical step from there. Yeah. Jippy, I think, will utilize this game as a sales technique, right? Like it's an on-ramp. It's getting people eyeballs onto the website and onto the app. It's getting them sticky so they come back and play the game multiple times. And once they're educated about Bitcoin, they've been playing, they have some sats as rewards, the next step is then logically to buy Bitcoin. So instead of us partnering with an exchange like Swan or Unchained or Yopaki even, who we partnered with currently to do their education, we in-house that journey. So we actually have an exchange feature within Jippy. That would be the next vision beyond that.
Yeah, and I think that's the really interesting thing that we're seeing this cycle, right? Is, you brought up Yopaki, but I think there is a slew of new Bitcoin companies that are coming out right now, yours as well, that can start leveraging some of this infrastructure that's already been built out for the past 4 years, right? Whether that's Strike or whoever. And I think there is a total need here to start going after some of these, for lack of a better word, Zoomer generation. And can you talk a little bit about that? Why do you think? Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's a trend now going in this direction of trying to find that sat sprinkler system that's out there?
So my perspective on the matter is this: we have much superior exchanges today, like Swan, like River, like Unchained. And so the tools that we have to buy Bitcoin are a lot better than they were back in the day, right? But now I think we're slowly reaching the point of this bell curve, the adoption bell curve, which is slowly becoming steeper, meaning we're moving away from the early adopters to the mass general public.
Gotcha,
and so the strategy now, which is to pump a lot of money behind marketing campaigns and paid marketing campaigns. So we throw people into an app and we make it easy for them to hit a smash buy button. That strategy used to work because it was early adopters, cryptographers, people who were interested in this stuff.
Right.
Now it's the mass market. So we've got to now educate people on top of purchasing Bitcoin. And so what's really interesting at this point in the cycle is we're seeing companies like Swan and Cash App starting to do education initiatives. And so Swan launched their 1 hour free onboarding Bitcoin 101 course.
Right.
Cash App launched Bread, which was a magazine with illustrations and text and images to make it easy to understand Bitcoin. So what the summary here would be, you have other companies like Fold and Yopaki and Jippy gamifying some of these SATS experiences and providing the exchange service. So we're like the next generation of exchanges from here.
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think for me, I think the only reason I got into like shitcoins early on was because they had these rewards and these games around them. And looking back on it now, if there was like a game that I could play that was like Tribe Clash, I would have totally gone that route and it would have totally avoided the whole shitcoinery.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to have that. And especially with the young millennials, you know, Gen Z.
Yeah, talk about that. About that. Yeah, let's talk about the Zoomers and that whole generation, how they see things. And I'm an old man now at this point, so I have no idea how this works. So yeah, tell me all about it.
Well, I'm on the edge. I think I'm like,
you're pretty young. So.
Yeah, thank you. I think I refuse to be lumped in with Gen Z. I refuse.
I mean, you're fine.
But no, so I think that attention spans have become pretty appalling today. You know, they're about 8 seconds for Gen Z. And so,
gosh, dude, 8 seconds?
Yeah.
Literally 8 seconds.
Literally 8 seconds, which is just insane. You know, that's why TikTok is so successful, is because all you're doing all day is swiping through these seconds of reels to the next one.
You think it's just like dopamine?
It's like a dopamine hit for sure.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. And so people aren't really going to sit in front of an article that is a few thousand words. You know,
they're not going to read the Bitcoin standard?
Correct. No, they're not.
Why not?
They're just not. They're not going to want to purchase it. They're not going to want to read it. Even like an hour-long video is a stretch. And so for us, how do we gamify education? Well, it makes sense to have a competition where you're collecting these tokens, or it would be in this case a beast.
Yeah.
You're collecting this beast, and this beast itself has a topic about Bitcoin. So you're learning while you're collecting it. But also because you're answering quiz questions to collect the thing, you actually have to know about Bitcoin to answer the questions correctly. Yeah. So the incentives are aligned as such that you need to know about Bitcoin to win Bitcoin.
Dude, it's an absolutely no-brainer, especially when you told me about the idea for Jippy and like how you were seeing it. I immediately thought of like all the Apple AR stuff and the Meta AR stuff and like all the new technology that's coming out right now. And so to me, it's completely obvious that there's going to be an app, maybe it's Jippy, that you're going to see these Bitcoin beasts in an augmented reality, glass situation. Like that's gonna be a thing, and I don't think people are skating to the puck like they should be right now when it comes to like anticipating this next generation of new Bitcoiners that are going to require a little bit more than just the hey, read this or have fun staying poor. You know, you know what I mean?
That strategy doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And we're still early into this journey, Jippy. So the MVP is obviously going to be minimally viable. So we want to build something that is giving people enough of an indication as to what we eventually want to build with funding. And so this thing will have 2D beasts, and it will have the basics. But eventually, yes, we want to build something like Pokemon Go, where you have these 3D beasts. They're more entertaining. They're animated. It's actually fully fledged.
Yeah.
So please help us build that, everybody, if you want to see that.
So yeah, let's dive into timestamp, because I think what you're also kind of pioneering this new way of raising money in Bitcoin. I think you're doing a lot of firsts.
Oh no, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Hey, I mean, I can tell you from experience, doing the first is, you probably learn more faster, but you also you become the one who holds all the knowledge. I should say. So it's good, and you'll learn a lot. So let's talk about timestamp and how you got partnered with them and what exactly you're hoping to accomplish with the crowd raise, and talk a little about the crowd raise and all that stuff.
Yeah. So timestamp is amazing. Arman runs it, and they are a Bitcoin only crowdfunding solution. And so think of like Indiegogo or something like that, but it's Bitcoin only. And what's magical about it is that this allows, because it's regulated crowdfunding, it allows everyday investors, so the general public who just have money or have Bitcoin and want to invest it, it allows that group of people as well as accredited full-time specialist investors to invest. So it's combining those two groups of people. So Timestamp's amazing for that. We met Arman, I think, at Startup Day.
Yeah, I think I met him actually in Nashville.
Right.
And then I met him, we invited him again to Startup Day, yeah.
Yeah. And he just shared with us, you and I, the vision of what they were trying to build. And it just made complete sense because Jippy is such a universal project.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to Bitcoiners who are hopefully bought into the vision and who want to build Pokemon Go for Bitcoin and allow them to invest? And so crowdfunding is just a no-brainer. Arman managed to connect the dots in such a way as it just brings the whole package together. So we are the first, and we'll see if this works. I hope it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will allow other companies to come through Pleb Lab and actually accelerate their journey through funding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, to me, when I see what Arman's building, and I think to myself, like the amount of like detail that has to go into something like that is beyond me. I don't have the patience for it, but I'm luckily somebody else does, and I'm so grateful for that because there's from what I can hear, it sounds like there's a ton of like paperwork and due diligence that has to go through. What was that like? What was that onboarding process like for you?
A lot.
It was a lot.
I won't say it's easy. I think Arman and team have made it easier, but it wasn't easy. It was a lot of time. You know, you have to submit a regulation Form C form to the SEC so that it's all compliant. You have to make the campaign. You have to just do all of the form submittal for the custody stuff because we have a custody provider on the back end, an escrow account, so that the money goes directly through the escrow and it's all secure.
Yeah.
So there's just lots of little steps, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's hard. But we would definitely appreciate anybody who seems like they are interested and bought into this vision. Anyone can go to timestampfinancial.com and find Jippy, which is JIPPI, and invest. We would definitely welcome. Currently, we're sitting at 27K, which is 10% of the funding amount.
It's a lot.
Woo! And we got some more coming in soon. But we would appreciate more, of course.
What's the smallest check size they can do?
$2,000, 2K.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a micro payment, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like if there is anybody who is interested in supporting something like Jippy, definitely head over there. I personally think that what Oliver is building is going to be next level. Is there something that when you think of the future and like where everything's headed, is there some things that you would have done different in your startup journey early on? Or has everything kind of played out the way you thought it was? Or is it not a time to look back? That's a good answer too.
It does feel like I'm right in the trenches, the trenches of building right now. So it's hard to.
There's something to be said about not looking back. I did that all of this year and last year.
Yeah, but I would say that I think things have sort of aligned quite nicely. You know, from meeting you and becoming a part of Pleb Lab to doing Top Builder, and you know, not having at that point in time this vision of Tribe Clash fully formed. It was literally just the rewards, the education, and some social elements. To go from there to actually out of nowhere almost having this epiphany of what Jippy is going to become, which is Pokemon Go for Bitcoin. It added so much just purity of fun and like enjoyment to this thing.
Yeah, because it's like it's a hill that you want to climb, right?
Yeah, like I want to be the gamification guy.
yeah, and like, dude, that's why I think the vision you've always had early on. It was clear as day, and your design is just impeccable, man. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see like if this MVP can come to life. How much are you looking to raise initially with Timestamp?
So we're looking to raise 250K, which is a pretty reasonable pre-seed for what we're trying to build.
Absolutely, yeah.
From there, you know, we would love to scale the team and actually go for further funding, perhaps with an amazing venture capital company that would allow us to really scale quickly. Because at the end of the day, what we're building here through Timestamp is the MVP, and it's going to be great in a lot of ways. And it will be fun to play, but it's not going to be the fully formed vision of what Jippy is going to become yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when I look at different companies go from from literally, you know, initial idea to now getting to the MVP phase, I think like, gosh, Like it's just an incredible journey, and seeing that happen in front of me with you, it's just another great founder that's come through Pleb Lab. That's just, dude, you're absolutely killing it, man. You're crushing it on every level. I think a lot of us in here are have opened up our hearts to you and try to help you as best we could.
Yeah,
because I think what you're building is going to be humongous, just like the last guy who was doing it in here, which was Francisco.
Yeah, shout out to Francisco. He's awesome.
He's doing the Yopaki stuff. And
yeah,
I remember for the longest time I was like, Francisco, I'm telling you, dude, you're doing it, and it's gonna pay off. And
thank you. I just want to say I appreciate you for all that you do for the community here in Austin, because we would not be doing what we're doing today without you. What you built with Pleb Lab is beyond needed. It is vital to the future of building tools on the layer of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I want to get to hyperbitcoinization.
Yeah,
we need a gamified. We need a gamified.
We do.
App like Jippy to get us there for sure.
Yeah, let's hope we do this thing and we do it.
Yeah,
and with explosive positive results.
I think it's going to be. I think it's because right now. I think right now, like if you can get a small chunk of money right now through. I mean, this is how I envision it. And maybe people listening at home, they're like, okay, how do you see this playing out? I can see you getting a small chunk of money that you can use to build out this MVP with a small team, mostly favorites, because it's not gonna. I mean, it's just enough for people listening at home. Like this money is just enough for you to live. I mean, with inflation and with all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Oliver's not going to go on vacation or anything. Like there's nothing, there's nowhere for him to go. Like he's literally just going to be inside the lab, still doing the same thing every day. But now he's, going to be able to live. And I think doing that and then getting that MVP out and like really getting people wanting more, I think from there, it just then takes off to the next level. Right. And then getting getting a VC that can then come in and really take you the rest of the way, I think will really be awesome. And that's kind of how I see it playing out. And I actually think that that's how it's going to play out. And I believe that right now getting in on something like Jippy is like incredibly, not only is it important for the Bitcoin ecosystem, but it's an opportunity of a lifetime because Oliver is going to get there regardless.
Yeah, we are going to be the next global phenomenon. I can promise you that. We will be huge as this on-ramp. The vision is to become the largest, most popular on-ramp into the ecosystem for beginners.
Gosh.
That is it. So we're gonna build Pokemon Go to help with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Okay, let's jump into rapid fire. And then we'll end off after there. I usually just ask like three random questions. Okay, is there like a book, movie, music thing that you've listened to in the past, I guess this year, that you would say that like, wow, this was really good, I highly recommend it?
Book, movie, podcast, anything
like that you would love to recommend to the audience?
That's a very good question. I think that the easiest route into podcasts for Bitcoiners is Natalie Brunell's podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's where I started out. Her content is really easy. And I still listen to it just to hear how complicated topics are communicated effectively to beginners.
Who does she have on the show? I have never really checked out her
Everyone's
podcast.
been on her podcast.
Okay.
She gets really, really good speakers. Yeah, Coin Stories is the name of the podcast. I would give her a shout out because it's amazing. So I recommend you start there. If you're thinking about Bitcoin as a whole and you're just
thinking about giving somebody like, hey, what podcast should I start?
Yeah, Coin Stories is the one.
Natalie Brunell, Coin Stories. Cool. Second question is, what device, handheld, it could be accessory, whatever it is. It could be anything. What is one thing that you cannot live without? Don't say your phone.
Okay.
Because that doesn't count. Everybody has to have a phone.
Okay. I think it's my hardware wallet.
Really?
Yeah, I need it. Yeah, I don't know. It needs to be ubiquitous. I think every single person on this earth needs to have a hardware wallet.
Are you going to get this? Are you going to get the Cash App one? The little, I think it's like a little thing like this, where it's like a small like keychain thing.
Oh, really?
Have you seen it? It's
no.
I want to get one of those.
Is it pretty?
I think it's just like some kind of, looks like a shell of a sort.
Oh, I think I did see something like that.
Yeah,
I think
it's supposed to be like a multi-sig of a sort.
Yeah. Oh, it was the one by Jack Dorsey's company. Yeah, I think I have seen. It's like a hexagonal one with a fingerprint, right?
Yeah. Oh, does it have a fingerprint?
I think it does. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to get one of those?
Looks like a pebble. I don't think so because I want a screen. I want to confirm transactions. I want a screen. But I was actually really interested in the Ledger Stacks. The one with the touch screen display.
I haven't seen that. Let me see the ledger stacks. What
Yeah.
does that look like? Ledger stacks.
STAX.
Oh, stacks and stacks. Okay.
Yeah, and they were.
Wow, is that foldable?
No, they click one on top of each other.
Dude, that looks amazing.
I know.
But the problem is it's ledger.
But that's exactly the problem, right?
Man,
and that worries me. The fact that they were like fragmenting people's private keys and sending it to the cloud.
Looks great.
Oof.
Dude, that looks amazing.
It made me feel a certain way. But they are the Apple of hardware wallets. I will give them that. They make beautiful products. And that's where I started out. My first hardware device was a ledger.
Mine was a Keep Key, and then it was a ledger, and then it was everything else.
But they're great.
Gosh.
They just need to make sure they get the trust back of Bitcoiners.
$3.99. It's not crazy bad. Okay. The next question, the final question is, what do you hope to accomplish? We're getting towards the end of the year. What do you hope to accomplish in 2025? Or do you have any, like, it doesn't have to be a resolution or anything like that, but what do you have? What do you have as far as, like, I'm somebody that likes to write down like stuff that I want to accomplish every year. I'll write it down. That way it feels like it's real. And then I'll go back a year later and say, oh, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. Or you did that, or you did that. Is there something that you have that on the agenda for 2025 that you want to accomplish?
Yes, we want to have raised the pre-seed at that point. So we want to get that initial money of about 250,000, and that will allow us to build the next version of Tribe Clash. But we want that initial crowdfunding raise to come through by mid-end of 2025. We want to be on our way to building the next version, because I'm making a prediction here, but we want to have the first version of Jippy to be done by about January, February.
Wow. So you're moving fast.
Yeah. So the MVP, at least around that period of the year, is what we want to have built, the MVP. Beyond that, we want to be on our way to making the next version, and we want to have raised our seed round. So the venture capital round, we want that to happen to the middle of the year next year, end of the year.
Wow. Dude, I hope you get there.
Thank you.
I know you'll get there. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Or I think
the beasts, you can...
let's bring up that.
So we actually, because we're doing digital beasts where you can collect 21 unique designs of the digital beasts through Tribe Clash, we are giving people the opportunity to buy the plushies of those beasts. So we're selling the plushies, limited edition handmade plushies on the website. That's jippy.app. And they each come with a Sats card. And one of those 21 plushies will have $1,000 worth of Bitcoin as a reward.
Yeah, they're $210 right now, and you can buy one. If you're listening, definitely buy one. I need to order one, dude. Order one. Okay, I'll order one.
Cool. Yeah, that will help. Obviously, it will fund Tribe Clash, but it will also give some lucky Bitcoiner a nice little bit of Bitcoin as well, which is important. So even if it's just, if it's a gift for someone else, if you're trying to give it to someone else as a way to entice them into the Bitcoin space, it could be quite nice.
Is there a place where if anybody who's listening to this and they want to talk to you directly, maybe they want to sponsor one of the territories when it launches, or maybe they want to, discuss, funding or something like that. Is there a place that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to the website and scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a little icon, a little mail icon, and that will open up, if you click on that, to hello@jippy.app. And that's JIPPI again. Then you can email us there. Tends to be me on the inbox, my co-founder also sometimes as well, but that's a main line straight into us. If you also want to follow us on Twitter, it's Jippy app on Twitter. So just JIPPI, APP. You can follow us and message us there. And myself, founder Oliver, you can get me Hey Olpo. So that's HEYOLPO on Twitter.
Dude, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you. And, let's get out there and do this, dude.
Let's do this thing. Thank you, Kai. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you.